Welcome back to the best part of your week and the worst part of mine.
Friday, all the games, here they are. Nottingham Forest 2-1 over Sheffield. Matt Turner, new Nottingham Forest goalkeeper. Love to see that starting for the Americans.
Wasn't able to get a clean sheet, but good performance from them.
We like it. Fulham 3-0 loss to Brentford.
Don't take it.
Brentford are they're going to be like that. Thomas Frank's good coach. Liverpool 3-1 to Bournemouth. Liverpool with the same midfield three as the first game starting out. Yeah. They just signed a Endo, I believe. From Germany, a 30-year-old Japanese international. Ooh.
There are some whispers of an underrated player that just really hasn't gotten the shine that he's due, but we got to see it. We got to see it in the Prem.
Yeah, I definitely want to see more of Diaz this year. Darwin Núñez. Diaz scored, Jota scored, Mo Salah scored. Mo Salah
did score a pretty good goal.
But Darwin Núñez, what I was meant to saying. Yeah. Darwin Núñez. Yeah, man. I want to see. He needs to feature more for Liverpool, like Jota, and I guess it's a good balance up there. But
Jota's been underrated.
It's got to be his year.
Jota's been underrated for a long time, and there's a reason he starts over Núñez. Núñez is the pricey guy. We know that. We know he did well in Portugal, but in the Prem he had an okay season, but he's got to continue that. But Jota is just their unsung hero right now.
Bournemouth though, little bit shaky, gonna be down there. Hopefully they can stay up from relegation, especially with their new addition Tyler Adams.
Yes, we love to see it, him back in the Prem where he belongs.
Yes,
obviously it's not in the position where we want him to be, but he's going to get game time. He is going to be able to show, hey, I'm one of the better players on this struggling team, because they will struggle this year. Yeah. But they really look like they were attacking really well in moments against Liverpool. They had some real solid chances. First 25 minutes, back and forth, real fun game at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. A few people have talked up their coach.
Yeah, absolutely. Well-deserved.
Brighton sitting at the top of the league.
Crazy.
Battered
but not
Wolves.
Crazy.
But not crazy. De Zerbi's got a well-drilled team in Brighton. They got good players. They've lost a lot of very important pieces. They brought in some players, decent recruitment. But you have to say that overall, this was a very, very good game for Brighton. 4-1 over Wolves. Wolves, though, they're abysmal.
I can't say that after we just barely beat them last week. I can't be talking too much trash. But this Brighton team, man, they are super fun to watch. They're so good. The ability to bring in replacements for their players that they've sold, just, crucial, integral players. Mm-hmm. Cucurella out, Estupinian in for a deal. One of the best left backs in La Liga when he was there. Yeah. And then he comes to Brighton, and he continues to be one of the best left backs in the league. Mm-hmm. Just the return on investment on these guys is crazy. And they're able to stay competitive, and I would not be surprised, and I might be getting a little ahead of myself, if they compete for 5th and 6th, they're
in Europe.
Potentially, we'll see at the end of the year. I hope it'll happen. Unfortunately, we are at that point, like I said,
where we have to talk about
United. Gosh. Tough game, man. Honestly, it's not all doom and gloom like everyone thinks it is, because the simple fact that we had so many chances in that game, but we just didn't convert. And it's the same old story over and over, week in, week out. It's the same story. We don't convert our chances. Rashford had a beautiful header over the bar. Yes, it was offside, but potentially you get him to make a save, ball goes back in play, continues. That's not what he did. Goes right over. Bruno, same thing. Beautiful, beautiful pass. Right out over the goalie. There was no finishing on this team, and it continues.
You could see however you say the manager's name, Postecoglou, however we want to say. You can see that coming to fruition. You can see Tottenham having, Brentford is a tough place to go opening day.
Yes.
Brentford are a tough team. It was his first Premier League game, so a 2-2 draw. At home against United, a 2-0 victory. That's you can't be happier, honestly. You could see the white wall, as they call it, loud, yelling. Tottenham, though, the team, they played well. And United, you could see the same disappointment or same flaws that we saw in Week 1 against Wolves, which they were able to pull through. But Casemiro, Casemiro's a pedestrian. He's standing there. He's just waiting, right? Mount has to do. They got to do more defensive work overall.
Their structure is all wrong right now.
You can see Casemiro having to do it all, and some could say that maybe he's just not going to be the player that he used to was. He's getting a little bit older. At the same time, though, it is the second game of the season. So
yeah. Well, and also you got to think about the type of player he is. He's not gonna, he's gonna be able to stop counterattacks at the time of the turnover. He's not going to chase somebody down 40 yards and take the ball off of them and then spray it past 70 yards. Like, he's not going to do that. He's going to be there to break up passes, but also to be in between the connective play. And that's kind of what he did, but not well. Like, I don't know what it is. I don't think they're fully fit. We've seen them. They're leggy at the end. I just don't think that we're going to be as bad as what we are right now, and I think people got to just kind of take a breath.
Moving on to your favorite segment of our videos, Manchester City 1-0 over Newcastle. What a game. I know you're going to look at that scoreline and go, what do you mean, what a game, Tanner? Like 1-0, come on. But 1-0 against Newcastle, that was a game, I don't know if you're able to catch any of it, but it was a pretty impressive game. By both teams, you could see the fight, you could see they both wanted to win. That's two Champions League level teams, in my opinion, going at it right there. That's what was shown.
They're both literally in the Champions League,
and they're going to both going to qualify again this season. All right, Newcastle, Eddie Howe, he's got them going.
They're putting it together.
That Joelinton, Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes midfield is working really well.
Tonali didn't have a great game,
No.
He wasn't as impactful as he was in game week 1.
Yeah, with the goal and everything, yeah.
It's tough to be 2 weeks in a row in the Prem, keep that consistency level high. You could kind of take your foot off of it maybe in the Serie A, but you can't do that in terms of intensity, so we'll see if they can keep it up, but personally, I wanted to see City, honestly, just beat them like 5-0.
I mean,
just because.
we should. I'm not gonna say we should have, because they played well. Their back line's good. Nick Pope, decent goalie. You could see our creativeness again. Missing Kevin De Bruyne. Bernardo Silva wasn't playing. Overall, I thought there was some good individual performances though. Rodri had a decent game. Kovacic again, showing again why he is a City player. He does so well in that system. Phil Foden, man of the match. He's a dream to watch. He's a dream footballer to watch. Phil
He's
Foden.
doing what I asked him to do before the season started.
What's that? What do you mean?
Live up to the productivity that he needs to. He started the year well. I mean, last week he didn't really light the game on fire, but they didn't really need to.
He did good.
They didn't really need him to be amazing, but Saturday, he did really well, and I got to give it up to him.
Phil Foden, he can be that guy for us. He's going to need to be. Hopefully, especially if he wants to live up to that hype that everybody expects.
And that's what I mean. That's what, at the beginning of the year.
What we expect, and what I assume what he'd expect of himself as a professional. So to be the best you can and go out on the field and prove yourself every single time, as he tries to do. Erling Haaland had a bit of a tough day at the office. Had a few chances though. So I know I've seen online a lot of people like he's getting pocketed. Those are two, really three, with Dan Burn. We're considering him center back too, basically.
Kind of, yeah.
They're tough. Botman had a good game. So Haaland had a few chances
have one
though.
error, though.
Haaland had a few chances though. We get the goals that we get the goal that we needed though. Gavardio, first start. I thought he was impressive. Stopped the counterattack. There's a few Twitter pictures of that. Very impressive. He's 1-on-3 almost. It seemed like he puts his foot out, stops the counter.
Decent stop.
It was not a decent stop. It was an amazing stop. A Class A defender. Villa, 4-0 over Everton. Everton, abysmal. Sean Dyche, what are you doing?
Tragic.
This is your job, is to stop the goals from coming in, right? You're not expected to score too many goals, Everton. You're not expected to do that great this year. But letting in 4 goals, not very good.
Tough day at the office.
Aston Villa, coming to what we thought they'd be.
Right. We saw them last week be real upsetting at the back for anybody that was rooting for them or any neutral that hoped for a good game, in us. So for them to come back this week and just be dominant, great to see.
West Ham 3-1 over Chelsea.
Oh.
West Ham.
Man.
They were having their expectations for the season were down here. They're probably going to lose Paqueta to Manchester City, possibly. They've brought in Alvarez. They missed out on Maguire, I think.
Ward-Prowse.
They brought in Ward-Prowse.
Two assists.
You can see some little rebuilds. They got to do more with that Declan Rice money, though. Honestly, they're leaving David Moyes out there to dry. Not saying he's like a crazy good manager or anything, but
he got him a trophy.
You see all that money. It's like, go do something with it, and you need to invest. You need to reinvest into this squad. You're losing Declan Rice, who's a huge player, but they got a 3-1 win over Chelsea, so that's what we're here to talk about. Paqueta, good performance again.
Yes. Did he get a yellow?
Maybe. Yeah. Chelsea, abysmal.
Terrible. Tough for them. I mean, they didn't start out horrible. It was pretty back and forth for a long period of the game, but then it kind of just seemed like West Ham just started to get the better of Chelsea on the second balls and in follow-ups for everything pretty much. So I think it was a really well orchestrated game plan from Moyes. You know, you give him Ward-Prowse and then potentially El Nassiri we're seeing. So those assists for Ward-Prowse could just start stacking up.
Arsenal 1-0 over Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace,
unfortunately.
Elise not in. Not looking good for Crystal Palace. Probably going to lose him to Chelsea.
Well, you know, he does sign that new contract. It takes out the release clause, so if Chelsea really, really want him, I guess they could pay for him. But at this point, I think he probably will stay, and then in a year's time, 18 months maybe, that's when he'll start to look. But you know, they were competitive for this game. Unfortunately, they give away a penalty. Odegaard puts it away.
Arsenal unimpressive.
Yeah, not a particularly amazing game. A little bit of shakiness. Gabriel, potentially. We'll see how he does this year. I think it's been a good start for Arsenal so far, but not as great as what we thought they could have been.
I think Arsenal are going to suffer from some of that, like... they're almost going to have what you would call like champions. What do you get? Champions when they...
Fatigue, I guess.
Like when you win and then you have a fallback, pretty much. Whatever that's called. There's
Sophomore
a term
slump.
for it. There's a term for it.
Yeah.
So I feel like even though they won the league, they just tried so hard. It was such a rough season.
Putting so much into it.
And then here we go again after all that disappointment at the end, not winning it after all that hard work. They're also going to have Champions League football. I think we could possibly see a slight drop from Arsenal. I'm not saying they're going to drop out of top 4, but they could.
As of today, thankfully, Mason Greenwood no longer plays for Manchester United. We both love to see it. I don't like the way it was handled in terms of them leaking stuff out last week that they were putting the club statement out and then other reports coming out that they were going to just bring him back in and act like no big deal. But then after all the backlash and all the revolt, all the petition, all the people in Parliament, the people that are important, that are important in England saying we will not support United if this is the case. And thankfully, he should have done it in the first place, but thankfully, we finally decided that he's gone. Yeah. So, just an update. We're glad.
Glazers out.
Still.
USA transfer update. Boom, boom, boom. End of the video real quick. Christian Pulisic, AC Milan. Scores a goal in his first official professional game for AC Milan. Goated. Young goat. Musa wasn't in the squad today. Not too sure why. Adams, we see him possible transfer to Bournemouth.
Pretty much.
We see McKinney on the substitutes for Juve. Tim Weah starting in their 3-0 win at the week over Udinese, I believe.
Decent performance. We saw Dest join PSV over the weekend. Love to see it. Gotta get game time though. 100% has to.
Need the game time. We got Tillman, Pepe, and Dest all on PSV. So you know we're big PSV fans this
Keeping it
year.
locked.
So I need to cover my Ajax logo because we're PSV fans.
Yeah.
But overall, happy for Americans. Matt Turner again.
It's going well.
Has his move to Nottingham. Needs to start well, hopefully. He started okay. Needs some more game time for him. He's finally starting.
The team's starting to look up.
We see even Caldwell, the young kid, transferred to Bologna possibly.
Like,
we're seeing
these
transfers.
rumors.
Some guys coming out from the MLS.
We're
some
finally
of these guys.
a real country when
We're
it comes
honestly
to the sport.
almost.
Kind of. Like, you know what we're saying, though. Like,
we're honestly almost relevant.
We're almost relevant.
Okay, that's all. We'll be back next week or sometime to tell you what happened.